This portion of the CU podcast is brought to you by Tushy. Is it selfish or brilliant to gift your one true love something that also benefits you? When it's a bidet, everybody wins because the gift of a clean booty keeps giving for life. And that's Tushy Bidet. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's easy to install. You don't need any electrical stuff. You don't need any extra plumbing apparatus or experience. Get it, you're good to go. You'll feel cleaner down there and you'll use a lot less toilet paper.
Right now, Tushy Bidet is dropping deep discounts on bidet life essentials that'll transform your bathroom habits and butt for life. Now's the time to back away from boring gifts and dirty habits to save on a luxury lifestyle upgrade you'll use every day. Washing with a precise stream of fresh water removes 99% of bacteria compared to wiping with toilet paper. It's also easy to use. Sit, do your business, and then turn the knob for a refreshing stream of clean water. Once you're done, simply pat dry with toilet paper. People who have made the switch to Tushy use up to 80% less TP. No more clogged toilets. Save your money and your ass at the same time. Every Hello Tushy bidet comes with a 30-day hassle-free return and a 12-month warranty.
Give the gift of practical luxury that benefits everyone in your household. Go to hellotushy.com/CU podcast now to grab your deal before it's gone. And don't forget to give us a shout out when you're there and let them know the CU podcast sent you. Go to hellotushy.com/CU podcast for the best gift this holiday season.
But just more fun when it comes to weird consoles and things like that. So y'all remember the Polymega. It apparently has some sort of user base because they're still updating the firmware and releasing things. The Polymega never at least came across necessarily as a scam. It just took forever to come out, and they changed what the actual Polymega was going to do. They tried to introduce the term hybrid emulation, which I still think is one of the stupidest and funniest things I've ever heard. Emulation is emulation.
So it's a modular emulation console. You have the base unit, and you buy different modules to add on that are basically cartridge receptors for NES, Super Nintendo,
cartridge readers,
Genesis.
And the whole thing is very expensive. We've definitely covered it.
Yeah, they were like a year and a half, 2 years late getting the thing out. The company almost went bankrupt, I believe, or was in financial trouble. Blah 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 blah. And
now they're introducing the Polymega collection, which are exclusive games for the Polymega that will run through the CD drive. And what they are is basically they're just compilations. They're exclusive compilations, as they say it. It's an ongoing series of important classic and contemporary games on physical media, playable exclusively on Polymega. Our editions include the original title game, its international releases, as well as additional examples of games that influenced the work, and those which eventually expired, and those which were eventually inspired by it. On a flat, just not Polymega related at all, not a bad idea. But this is kind of, I think I think companies do this now where they re-release game. It's a nice way to showcase a game. It's a nice way to showcase what was inspired by it. I have no problem with this on the basic level. Other than, I think calling these exclusive is really kind of stretching the
word exclusive?
The word exclusive. Sure, this compilation, including these games, is exclusive. The packaging is exclusive, but these games are by no means exclusive games. So, for instance, one of them that they're releasing, one of the ones that they show off is Asteroids. And the Asteroids collection, and again, I think the packaging looks kind of nice. They got some decent design in there as Asteroids. So immerse yourself with life. I'm going to hold off on that. So the Asteroids collection includes Lunar Lander, Space Duel, and Gravitar, in addition to Asteroids. It also includes Orbit. So the full list is Orbit, Gravitar, Lunar Lander, Asteroids, Asteroids Deluxe, Super Asteroids and Missile Command on Lynx, and Super Asteroids on the Lynx is actually super fucking fun. I think it's probably my favorite version of Asteroids, and I'm not really a huge Asteroids fan. And then Space Duel. And then it comes with a game DVD, I don't know why well, probably just because they're easier to get. There's no way that any of this shit, couldn't fit on a CD. The visual companion, controller reference card, a spine card for France and Japan, a collection sticker, and a pin. So they're loading it up with, tchotchke. But what you're basically getting here is you're getting a bunch of arcade ROMs slapped onto a CD. I mean, that's all it is. And then you can play them.
And it links one in the 2600 version of Asteroids.
And what I think is hilarious about this, personally, is they're really, really they're really behind this immersive mode is what they call it. And they're acting like it's a brand new thing. Immerse yourself in lifelike arcade action, they say over at Polymega. Built exclusively for Polymega Collection games. Immersive mode. Exclusively, Patrick, for Polymega Collection games. Immersive mode gives you a brand new way to play games on Polymega that draws you into the action like never before.
And what is
Starting a Polymega Collection arcade game gives you a view that realistically presents the arcade machine as if you were standing in front of it, fully playable. This fucking atrocious gimmick has never been used by anyone more than once and has existed at least as far back as the Xbox or Xbox 360. I remember downloading Capcom beat 'em up games. I think the D&D ones did it.
Well, Ian, explain what it is. What do they think? What is immersive about this?
So it shows you a picture of the arcade cabinet, and then it runs the game in the picture of the arcade cabinet where the screen would be, and it adds an incredibly non-realistic looking. I mean, I'm looking at the Karate Champ one right now.
Uh-huh.
It includes an incredibly unrealistic looking monitor curve, but it literally looks like it's being folded around a roll of paper towels. Like, it looks like a cylinder.
So these are overlays. These are just overlays.
It's just an overlay.
Overlays around your gameplay screen. This has existed in video games for a quarter of a century now. MAME had this shit going back decades. Even.
The R-Type collection had it on maybe even the PlayStation. Like, this is not new, and I guarantee you, no one ever uses this because it looks like shit. It's distracting.
Every single emulator.
Fuck, I got an Arkanoid game that I just bought on Steam about a month ago that uses this, and everyone uses it once and then just never uses it again.
Every single emulator front end that exists modern times has this available as an option. You load up the images per ROM game that attaches the overlay around your game. Like, this is not anything new. Is this is this a 3D thing you could like twist around and like what makes this immersive?
It's still not immersive. And I want to point out why it's not. Real quick.
Is it the weird like glare they're trying to put on it? Like, what is the glare on the pictures? Like, there's like a fake glare on the pictures?
I think that's supposed to be a fake glare on the actual TV screen. But here's the reason why this is never immersive and always sucks. Even with the zoomed in view, no one who is playing an arcade game is truly registering.
You're not looking at the art. You're looking at the game.
Sidebar. And the version that they show, which is stepped back where you can see the joysticks. What am I playing the game from fucking 10 feet away?
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
And like in the zoomed in one, like I said, I mean, if you're playing an arcade game, your face is close to the arcade machine and you're looking at the TV screen, you're not seeing the border art. You're just not.
Yeah, it's not something you will ever notice because you're looking at the game you are playing. You're not looking at the art around a game is like to attract people or to give more information. It's advertising and marketing. It's not part of the gameplay tape. The beautiful, my favorite arcade game visually all time is Popeye. Beautiful art. You got a big Popeye on the side, can of spinach, you got Bluto and olive oil. You don't look at these things when you're playing the fucking game.
No.
You're not. You don't look at the cute characters on the control panel. You don't look at any of that. You don't look at the marquee. You're not.
Can I also bring up the lunar lander one, which they show as a description?
Okay.
This one is especially hilarious to me because the lunar lander immersive mode shows the marquee of the game, which you are not seeing if you're playing it, but then it shows the controls. And the controls for lunar lander are not a controller. Much like many of Atari's early and best arcade games, they were fun because they used unique control schemes that were different for every game. This one shows you right as you're playing it that there should be a handle thruster on it and a button. and you're playing it with a controller. Looking at the controls that you're not ever using or ever going to be able to use is not immersive.
Well, the same for obviously for Asteroids. If you're on a controller,
sure.
Usually on those, like left and right will rotate instead of two buttons to rotate, which is a lot more accurate using the two buttons to rotate left and right. I want to go back to the original marketing speak for this idea. We even talked about like what's included for the Karate Champ package yet. This is go back to the original marketing for the collection. Each release includes one or more discs that are compatible with Polymega. The first is the primary game in DVD format. Additionally, some releases include bonus game discs that can be played on original game consoles as well. Each release is region free. There's not different regions of the Polymega that I'm aware of. Like, why is that even a feature? And will work on Polymega regardless of where you are or what language you speak. How is that a marketing point at all? That's ridiculous. That's so dumb. Here we go. The best thing about Polymega Collection is that in many cases, we're bringing games to Polymega that would be otherwise unplayable using an element module, such as arcade games. Of course, we're also providing support for several new systems that might not otherwise be compatible with Polymega. Because Polymega...
Show me examples of that, because you haven't. Yeah, you've shown me examples of easily licensable games that have been licensed and released on collections billions of times.
But the point, Ian, is that Polymega is an emulation console.
Right, I know.
So they're trying to trick the consumer is saying, well, you don't have that arcade module, we can still play you arcade games, because they're being emulated either natively in the console or through software on the disc that's just running on your OS. That is what, Android based or otherwise, doesn't even matter. The point is, it's just running software. This is
their answer to an arcade module. They're not going to make you anything that emulates an arcade board that you plug into it, so they're just going to give you ROMs on a disc.
The point is, no one should be impressed by this marketing speak.
No, it's awful.
No one, unless you're that, I guess you're that out in the woods, you don't know how this console actually functions. Or you don't know that the modules you are buying are just cartridge readers that you are purchasing that also have controller attachment ports.
Well, I mean, I get what they're saying at the very base level of it. There is no arcade module, so here's your games on a disc. That's besides the fact that it's emulation. Even if you know that it's emulation, okay, you have this NES module that you plug a cartridge into. So their lazy way around arcade games is simply to just put ROMs on a disc.
But they're like kind of tricking you into thinking, well, you're playing NES games because of the module, when the module is a pass-through. They're all pass-throughs.
Yes, but you are, because that's what's ripping the ROM. I mean, I get what you're saying. This is nitty-gritty.
I shouldn't be impressed that, like, oh, there's no arcade board reader available to throw I can't throw a Rolling Thunder board into a reader. Like, that's not what makes the console actually function. Yes. That's my point. It's ridiculous. What do you get? Just from a perspective of wanting to make money, you're now banking on everyone that owns a Polymega to be that interested enough to own the quote exclusive games that are available for that, versus saying, well, if this was good enough for Polymega players, why couldn't this be like a digital release on Steam or for Switch? If it was that interesting, Ian, and had that much things, why couldn't you want to make money for it on other platforms instead of just having it be on a DVD that we sell to people?
Because it exists on other platforms plentifully if you know what you're doing.
And you can get these games. I mean, Atari 50 has probably almost all these games on it already, for that one at least. Let's talk about Karate Champ real quick. Okay. I don't think we need to go over both of them in depth, because it's the same thing. Karate Champ gives you a couple of versions on different platforms of the game. So you get Karate Champ Arcade, NES, and Famicom Disc. Cool, I guess. Why? I don't. Why do we need that? Karate Champ PvP, so that's the 2-player version. You get the arcade version, and then you get Fighter's History and Fighter's History Dynamite. Arcade, SNES, SFC, and then for Dynamite, you get Arcade, AES, Neo Geo CD, and Saturn. Whatever different versions exist.
They're really just padding it out, because the differences between AES and NGCD, Neo Geo CD, are going to be minimal, and whatever differences exist between the two of them, the Neo Geo CD one is going to have longer load times. I don't think there's any gameplay difference. Fighter's History Dynamite, if anyone's wondering why that's included, is Data East made Karate Champ, which a lot of people will consider one of the earliest fighting games. Data East revisited fighting games a decade or so later by releasing Fighter's History and Fighter's History Dynamite, which were those are the fighting games that were taken to court by Capcom over similarities to Street Fighter 2. If I'm not mistaken, and I don't believe I am there either. In addition to that, you get all the usual tchotchkes you see with these editions that, like, people that are supposed to make you care. You get a pin if you like pins. You get a sticker. Do you like stickers? You get an OB spine card. You get controller references, so you get manuals, a visual companion, a Karnov's Revenge for the Neo CD.
At least that's a little bit slight more interesting. The fact that they decided to print a separate CD just for that one game.
Right, and apparently the way I'm reading it is that you could use that for a Neo CD.
If you had the actual system.
On a Neo Geo CD.
Okay.
And then the Polymega game DVD, obviously.
That's at least a little bit interesting that they said, okay, we're going to print a separate game that, because you can use it on the base unit, but yeah.
But
as well.
I want to point out that this says 2024 Gmode Corporation. I'm not exactly sure what Gmode is, but you can get Gmode versions of games on, I believe, the Switch and other places, because what this is my main point. This is not Polymega actually giving a shit. Not that anyone, I think, really thought that. But Karate Champ, Asteroids, what are the companies? Atari, and Data East. What exists fucking everywhere now, collection-wise? Data East and Atari have been gung-ho to license their shit out anywhere it can be licensed. If you want this stuff, you know what's a better option? You know, it makes perfect sense. You know who they're trying to bite off of, and it's ridiculous. This is Evercade's MO, and Evercade does it much, much better. I mean, you're looking at me like, man, maybe. No, I mean, it is. These are all games that you can get on the Evercade on $20 cartridges on a $100 system.
Sure.
They are licensing these games because it is cheap to license them, not because they actually give a shit about the stature of Karate Champ or giving people a million versions of Asteroids. This is cheap for them to do. They hire a college design student to make a, relatively slick looking package, and they sell you shit that they are licensing for nothing.
No, I was looking at you like that because I was running it through my head about costs and what are you getting for the price, because these are $40, not $20 carts. These are $40 discs, and it's cheaper to press a DVD than it is to make a cartridge. I do know that. That's still a real thing. It's cheaper to make discs.
And I'm not trying to knock Evercade. What I'm saying is, I had an Evercade, I sold it, but I really do understand Evercade. It's a fun little system. You get cool little cases and cartridges. I like what Evercade does. It's just not really, it didn't hold my attention. But Evercade's, my big thing about Evercade is they're doing it affordably. They have, even as it got a bit more popular, they never really jacked up the prices. They put out a revision of their handheld system that looks nice. They put out a nice little console. Evercade is doing what Polymega is trying to convince you is unique and special, but they've been doing it for a longer time for way less money.
Gmode is a Japanese company that they just own all the Data East games rights.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
There it is. Okay.
That's why it says Gmode. They own B-Wings.
I thought Gmode owned more than Data East. I thought they owned a number of companies' licenses.
I'm on the Wikipedia. They own more than 100 Data East titles. They own all but like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like they don't own RoboCop and RoboCop 2. They don't own Karnov was purchased separate. The original Karnov, Windjammers was purchased by another company, but they own most of them. So that's why you're going to see stuff like this. They own
I mean, that's fine. I thought I was mistaken. I thought they also owned some Tecmo games. I thought they were kind of warehousing cheap licenses, but I guess I'm wrong.
Not according to this, but they're primarily they specialize in Java compatible mobile games.
Yes,
So
that they definitely did. I knew.
I just want to comment real quick. Speaking of Karate Champ, they show the immersive screen for Karate Champ in the one in the picture. Do you see this picture?
Yes. I talked about it earlier.
Yeah, but I guess I didn't get appreciation for how weird the curved monitor looks.
No, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It looks like they took like a flat piece of paper and wrapped it around a full roll of paper towels. It looks nothing like what a CRT looks like.
A CRT has a little bit of a curve, but not like warped that you can see it that clearly. Like, it's,
and if
like,
you look at the top, that's the other thing that gets me. It's a very warped curve, but it doesn't curve properly at the top and the bottom.
Okay.
Yes, it looks like shit.
It looks
like
terrible because the curve is unnatural. The curve is like, you shouldn't be able to like curve that much because it's not that whatever. And then
I love you, but this is exactly what I said.
I know, but I didn't know if you were putting that specific picture. That specific picture is terrible. And
because they showed both of them in the original article. And it's awful.
And whatever that glare effect is terrible. There's like a glare effect on the actual image on this page that's bothering the hell out of me. I don't know.
Yeah, the fake glare on the TV is awful.
It's terrible. All right, and they're $40. So to me, this is not as interesting enough to put these out elsewhere because these are just collections of 4 to 8 older games that you can play these 75 different ways. And if you're that hard up for the point of Polymega was to play your original old retro cartridges and discs on stuff, not for the new stuff. So I'm not saying, I know you can do whatever you want as a company, but you're missing the mark in so many different ways for a product like this. I don't see it. You're going to have some people that want to buy it though because they want to be a collector, but.
And I'm just going to say this because I really do believe it. I'm not paid by them and I don't own the stuff anymore. But if this is what you want, buy a fucking Evercade. Just buy an Evercade.
Yeah, pretty much. And it won't cost you $700 when you have to buy all the modules and base system. You get an Evercade for a good price.
Yeah.
And different formats.
You can get used, at this point, you can probably get used Evercades for like nothing. I don't know. It like, if this is the sort of thing you're chasing and you're just going to be playing ROMs anyway, and you don't want to do it on your computer, you don't want to hack something.
You still want to collect you want to collect some physical item.
I was not expecting this to turn into me defending and promoting Evercade, but I'm just angry at Polymega's approach to this.
You Evercade shill. How dare you, Ian?
Yeah.